everybody, and welcome to Museum Munchkins. I'm Mr. Nick, and today we are going to be talking all about penguins. And we're going to start off our day today by singing a song about penguins. If you'd all like to stand up on your feet. So today's song sounds a little bit like I'm a Little Teapot, which I had so much fun a few weeks ago singing about Dinicthes as a little teapot, I'm a little teapot, that I wrote a new song about penguins to the same song, because that was so much fun. So this song, again, we're going to sing it kind of really slow the first time through so that we can learn all of the motions together, and then we'll speed it up a few times so that we can practice all those motions along with the song. Are you ready to go? Excellent. All right, so this song goes just like this. I'm a little penguin, black and white. And for that one, we can go black and white and put our hands out like that. Short and wobbly. So we're going to be short and wobbly. Can we make ourselves really wobbly? Very good. An adorable sight. And for an adorable sight, can we make ourselves really adorable? Maybe you can go like this and put your hands under your chins, or you can make some fashion poses. Very good. I can't fly at all. So we'll shake our fingers like this because we don't fly. But I love to swim. So can we swim with our hands like this? Very good. It's hard to swim with a guitar. So I'll waddle to the water. Can we waddle? Very good. And dive right in. Then we'll put our hands together and we'll dive into the water. Very good. All right, let's try putting it all together, but a little bit faster. Are you ready? Okay, here we go. I'm a little penguin, black and white, short and wobbly, an adorable sight. I can't fly at all, but I love to swim. So I'll waddle to the water and dive right in. Very good. Let's try a little bit faster all together. Are you ready? I'm a little penguin, black and white, short and wobbly, an adorable sight. I can't fly at all, but I love to swim. So I'll waddle to the water and dive right in. Excellent job, everybody. That was a great job being a penguin. All right, I'm going to set my guitar down, and then we are going to head upstairs to our exhibit so we can see our penguin that we have on display and talk all about penguins. So let's set this down so we can go. All right, we are up here again in our From Curiosity to Science exhibit to take a look at some penguins. So penguins are aquatic flightless birds that are found in all but one are found down in the southern hemisphere, the bottom half of our planet. The Galapagos penguin is actually the only penguin that is found north of the equator in the Galapagos Islands. All the rest of the penguins that live on our planet are actually found down on the southern half of our planet. And surprisingly, penguins are not only found in really cold climates. There are lots of penguins that live in places that aren't really cold and icy all the time. So of the 17 known species of penguin, only 8 of them are ever found on Antarctica, the coldest continent on the bottom of our planet where the South Pole is. And the emperor penguin and the Adelie penguin are actually the only 2 penguins that are only found on Antarctica. The other 6 that we find there sometimes are found in other places of the world too. So we find penguins in Angola and Argentina and Australia and Chile and Namibia and New Zealand and South Africa. So we find them in many more places than just down where it's really cold. But that's usually what we think about when we imagine penguins, is places where there's lots of snow and ice. Now, a penguin's body, as you might be able to see from this penguin here, is designed for spending a lot of time in the water. They have really sleek, thin feathers that are lighter on their belly and darker on their backs. And that helps them to actually camouflage while they're in the water looking for food. So an animal with that white belly, an animal that is swimming in the water underneath them, if they were to look up, they would see the bright sunlight coming in through the top of the ocean, and that would blend in with those white feathers on the penguin's belly. Or if you were swimming above the penguin and you were looking down at it, you would look down at those dark feathers on its back, and they would blend right in with the dark, deep abyss of the deep ocean underneath them where there wasn't a lot of sunlight. So they actually use their feathers on the front and the backs for camouflage while they're swimming around in the water. And they also have flipper-like wings. So if you look at their wings, they're much different than other birds. They're more like flippers or like oars on a boat that help to propel them through the water while they are swimming. And they can actually swim pretty quickly. Now, their long, sharp beaks help them to catch their food. They mostly eat krill and squid and other small animals that live in the ocean around where they live. Now, most penguins, especially smaller ones, do not dive down very deeply when they're searching for food and only spend about 1 to 2 minutes underwater at a time before they come back up for air. But some of the larger penguins can dive really far down, over 1,000 feet under the surface of the ocean, and stay underwater for up to 22 minutes in their search for food while they're out in the ocean, swimming around looking for a tasty treat to eat. Now, this penguin here behind me is one of the most recognizable types of penguins in the whole world, the emperor penguin. And it just so happens that this is also the tallest and heaviest species of penguin too. They can grow, this one actually isn't as big as they can get. They can actually grow up to 47 inches tall. That's about 4 feet tall, and can weigh up to 100 pounds. That's a pretty big penguin. Now, emperor penguins are best known for the incredible distances that they travel every year from far inland, where they lay their eggs and hatch their babies, to the shore where they look for food. It's a journey that takes them about 75 miles just one way, waddling over the snow and the ice. Now, far inland where they lay their eggs, there is nothing but snow and ice and rock there. It is very cold where they lay their eggs, and temperatures can reach minus 40 degrees, and the wind can blow up to 90 miles an hour. That is really strong wind and very, very cold. Now, the parent penguins, they lay their eggs, and then they spend months balancing their eggs on top of their feet, underneath their bellies, to keep their eggs warm. If they didn't balance their egg on their feet and they just left it out, it's so cold there, their eggs would actually freeze. So they have to balance their egg on their feet, on top of their feet, and under their bellies to keep it nice and warm. Can you imagine trying to do that? Do you think that you could walk around for months at a time balancing an egg on your feet? You could actually do that experiment at home. You could find a ball around your house and hold your feet together and put the ball on top and see how long can you hold that ball on top of your feet. You might have to push your toes up like this to stop it from rolling off the front of your feet. And if you can get it to balance really well on your feet, then maybe try walking with the ball on top of your feet. That's a lot harder, but it's something that penguins have to do, is walk around with those eggs on their feet. Now, most interesting thing I think about penguins too is that penguins actually have all sorts of families, just like us humans. Sometimes there are penguin families that have a mom and a dad. Sometimes there are penguin families that have two moms or two dads or only one parent. I think that's pretty interesting. And so what sort of family do you have? So penguins have all sorts of families, and that's one of the things that penguins and humans have in common, which I think is so cool. And today we have a story all about one penguin that is looking for one of the penguins in its family because he's lost. So let's head back to our classroom and check it out. All right, so today our story is the pop-up peekaboo penguin. Polly the playful penguin waddles through the ice and snow. She's looking for Charlie the penguin chick. Where is he? Do you know? Let's look behind the rocks. Peekaboo! That's not Charlie. It's Sita the seal. Polly looks out at the ocean and flaps her fluffy wings. There are ripples in the water. Is that you, Charlie? She sings. Is Charlie Chick in the ocean? What do you think? Peekaboo! No, it's Wally the whale. He's coming up for air. Polly dives into the ocean. She swims at a speedy pace. She comes across a shipwreck. Is this Charlie's hiding place? Let's lift the flap and look. Do you think Charlie is hiding in this boat? Peekaboo, no, it's Sid the squid. He has lots of arms. He's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 arms. Polly searches the beach and hears a flapping sound. Is that Charlie Chick? Will he soon be found? Let's look behind the shells. Peekaboo, that's not Charlie. It's Bella the bird. She's flapping her wings. Polly finds 2 penguin pals and asks them for a cuddle. They say, yes, of course. Come and join our penguin huddle. Who else is in the huddle? Who do you think? Peekaboo, hooray, it's little Charlie Chick, and he's safe and warm. The end. All right, everyone, so today we are going to be making little penguin puppet pals using just a few materials. So for this activity, you're going to need a cup. So I've got a little white styrofoam cup here. You could use a paper cup. If your cup has a pattern on it too, that's okay. So we're just gonna need a cup that we can use, that we can paint. Then we're gonna need a piece of white paper, or a piece of black paper, a piece of yellow paper, a couple little googly eyes, some glue, some tape, a pair of scissors, a paintbrush, a paint tray, and some black paint. Now, if your cup has a pattern on it, you could also get some white paint to paint over that pattern, or you could just have a penguin with a beautiful patterned stomach. That works too. So for this activity, the very first thing we're gonna do is we're going to paint our cup. So I'm gonna get a little bit of paint here. I mixed this up earlier. I'm gonna get this part started because it's gonna need to dry before we stick other things to it. So I've got my cup here and my paintbrush, and I'm gonna paint first. I'm gonna paint a big U shape, and that's gonna show me where I shouldn't paint, because that's gonna be my penguin's stomach. So I'm gonna paint kind of a big U shape just like this, or like a big rainbow. There we go. And now I'm going to paint everything on my cup except for inside that U shape. I'm going to get lots of paint on my paintbrush and paint all the way around this cup. I'm using a special tempera paint, which is paint that will wash off really easy if I get it on my hands. That's always a nice paint to use when you're doing fun activities like this, because then it's okay if you get a little bit messy. I paint all the way around this like this. Now when I painted my cup that I'm going to show you, I had to do a couple coats of it because this paint isn't very thick. So I did a couple coats and let my cup dry in between each of them. All right, so I've got my cup all painted just like this. I'm going to let that dry now while I work on the other pieces. So for my penguin, I'm also going to need, with the yellow paper, I'm going to need 2 penguin feet. So let's cut this piece like this. And if I fold it in half like this, then when I cut out 1 penguin foot, I'll actually have 2 penguin feet. So I'm going to cut it kind of round on the side like this. And then I'm going to cut 3 little penguin toes. Just like this. Perfect. And now I actually started cutting along my fold, so I have to cut my penguin feet apart. There we go. Now I've got 2 little penguin feet. I can keep my scraps off to the side here. There we go. Ooh, I'm also going to need a penguin beak. So I'm going to cut another piece of paper here, and penguins have long pointy beaks. So I'm going to make a long pointy beak for my penguin. There we go. Perfect. So I've got my beak and my feet, and now I'm also going to need to cut out some flippers to go on my penguin's sides so he can swim around through the water. So let's fold this piece of paper in half again, just like we did with the feet. So if we cut 1 flipper out, we'll have 2. And their flippers kind of like a long S shape on one side and really round up on the other. So just like this. You see that shape I kind of made? It kind of looks like an S a little bit on this side, like a S that got squished. And then it's just curved on this side. And now I've got 2 penguin flippers. Perfect. And now we didn't have to wait for this paint to dry. I actually painted a cup earlier so we could start gluing everything on right away. So first thing I'm going to do is take my glue and I'm going to put 2 little dots on here so I can stick those googly eyes on. 1, 2. There we go. So I can take my googly eyes and stick them right on my cup there. Perfect. Excellent. So now we've got some googly eyes. And now let's put a little bit of glue on his beak too. There we go. And that will help hold his beak on. So now we've got a penguin with 2 eyes and a beak. There we go. Now his feet, I'm actually going to bend the side of them a little bit like this to hold them on. Now if you don't have any glue at home, that's why I grabbed my tape. So you could use tape to hold your beak and your feet and your flippers on too. I'm going to use some glue, but you could use the tape if you don't have any glue at home. And I'm going to put a little bit of glue on each of his feet so I can stick those on. So a little bit of glue on that one, and a little bit of glue on this one. And then I'm actually going to stick those inside the cup like this. So one on that side and one on this side. There we go. And now I'm also going to put a little bend in each of these flippers here so they kind of stick off the side of his body. And again, I'm going to put a little bit of glue on one side and stick that to this side of his body. And then I'm going to get a little bit of glue on this one and stick this to the other side of his body. Now, if it's not sticking exactly how you want it to, or it's having trouble sticking, you could use some tape too. Even if you've already used some glue, you could still use some tape, which I think I might do, just because those flippers look like they might have a hard time hanging on with just the glue by itself. So I'm going to put a little piece of tape on here, like this, and a little piece of tape on the other side. I'm just so excited to show you guys this little penguin. Now he could be, oh, there we go. There's my little penguin friend now. Now he could, if you wanted to, you could do lots of different things. You could paint a little bit of extra yellow around his belly, just around his face though, just close to his face though, so he'd be like an emperor penguin. Or, ooh, I've got a little bit of extra paper here now too. I could, let's see here, if I fold this in half, I could make him a rockhopper penguin. And rockhopper penguins are ones that have, they kind of look like they have big, long, yellow eyebrows. So if I use my extra piece of paper here, they kind of look a little bit like they're grumpy all the time. Whoop. But they aren't actually. They just have feathers around by their eyes that make them look like that. So I could put some little feathers on there too with my extra yellow paper I have, and make him a little rockhopper penguin. Maybe I'll do that. Let's put a little dot of glue right here. Perfect. And then I'm going to make my little rockhopper penguin. There we go. Perfect. Awesome. Well, I hope you guys had so much fun with me today learning all about penguins. And I hope that if you decide to make a penguin at home too, you share it with us on our Facebook at Kenosha Public Museum, or you can share it with us on Instagram. Same thing, Kenosha Public Museum. I would love to see your penguins, what sorts of penguins you come up with. And you don't even have to paint your penguin black. You could make all sorts of different color penguins too. I can't wait to see what you all create, and I hope that you join us next week for another week of learning. Thanks so much for joining us.